In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to implement user email account verification when somebody registers on the system. So if I try to log in, we are not able to log in because this user does not exist. So let's go ahead to register this user. Now this user account is created, and if I go to login page and try to log in using this account, you see I'm not able to log in even though this account was created. Now let me show you the database that this account will. And you hear the sound, that means the email just arrived. But look at this account that was created now. If I scroll down all the way to the right of the page, you can see that account verified field, you can see right here, is 0. At this point, the account verified field is 0, and when the user verifies his email, this field will be true or will be 1, and the user will be able to log in. So let's go to look at the email. So this is the email that comes just now. Finish creating your account. I'm going to click on this validate account, and it tells me you have successfully verified your account. If we go to login page and try to log in now, you see that we are able to log into this application. So let's go ahead to start doing this step by step. And again, as you know, I created a guide that you can follow. I created a guide. I also have the complete application in GitHub, so you can also check GitHub for the complete application as well, so that you'll be able to know when you have mistakes or when you have any challenges. You can check in the complete application. So the link to that GitHub repo is right there. So this is a step-by-step guide I have created, and this is the flow. You can take some time to look at the flow from registration to generating a token and verify the email. Take note that the secure token we use here, so if you look at this token right here, this secure token is not JWT. We talked about JWT before now when we talked about JWT authentication. So this is a different kind of token. This is not JWT, so that you don't confuse the two. This is just a secure token, a code that has to be verified by the user. Okay, so let's go ahead to start from the step 1. So first I'm going to first show you the application we are going to be working with, which is this one. This application here doesn't have any verification. It doesn't have any user email notification. So we are going to be starting from the scratch right here. What this application have though is JWT. So when a user logs in, he gets a JWT. And if you want to try it, we can actually try it right now. So if I start running this application, if you try to log in, then you are going to receive a JWT. But we have not implemented user registration in this application. So if I go to the endpoint for this one, it should be localhost 3000, right? So let's get it running. It's not running here. npm start. So in this case, we have user login, but we don't have user registration or verification. So here it starts up. Let's give a second. Okay, so in this case, I'm actually able to log in if I'm not mistaken. And let me just show you that in the inspector here, I think if I go to applications, I'll be able to see the token being added here. Okay, so I think the username is Kindson. Sorry, I forgot. And the password is the same password. And now you can see that token, this is now JWT, right? This is JWT, is added here, and we use it for authentication. So this is where we stopped in the previous tutorial, but we didn't do anything about the registration. So this registration, we've not done anything about it. Okay, so let's go ahead to follow the steps. This template here, I think I'll just give it to you for free. So you can get this template, you can use what we have here. But I actually created a better design for this template. You can also find the link to this template in the description of this video. Okay, so let's go ahead to get started. So we are going to set up our dependencies. So we have a number of dependencies. The first one you want to take note of is the Spring Boot Starter Mail dependency. So to get that dependency, I'm going to npm mvn repository, and that dependency is called Spring Boot Starter Mail. So I'm going to just copy the name and paste it right here, and just copy, and I will paste it in my pom.xml file. And I'm going to remove this version, so it's going to resolve the version with the right version, or even the latest version is okay. So we have the common long-tree dependency. We also need that because we need some utilities from there. So I'm going to, so yeah, so I think the version I used before now is 3.14. So let me use it as well. And I'm going to my pom.xml and I'm going to paste it right here. The next or the last dependency we are going to be using is com.xml.messaging.saaj. So let's go back to the MVN repository and we are going to paste, I'm going to paste it right here to be Jakarta soap. I think it should be this one. Okay, so it's going to be this one, 3.0.4. I'm going to use 3.0.3 because that is what I use that actually works in my other application. So I'm going to just paste it right here in my dependencies as well. Okay, so now we have the dependency set up. Let's go ahead to the next part. The next part means we need to create the secure token model. So the secure token model takes these fields. So we are going to go to the models folder under security. So I'm going to security models and I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to call it secure token. And of course, we need to annotate it with entity annotation, entity data annotation. So we have all the fields. So we need the local datetime import. And we also need this import as well. And of course, this is going to be ID generated value. That's what this is going to be. And strategy is going to be generation type.identity. Okay, so this is what we have. We need to make sure of a few things. So the first one is that this secure token has to actually be unique. So to annotate, to make it unique, I'm going to annotate with @column and specify the unique property to be true. We also need to have the expiry time to be unupdatable and also it cannot be optional, right? So it has to be a required field. So I'm going to first use the say updatable is equal to not unique but updatable. Updatable is false and basic. And in this case, we are going to have optional is false, right? Now we also have to connect the user to the user model. So it's going to be, in this case, it's going to be at, so a user can actually have many tokens because a token can actually get expired and he creates a new one. So it will be many to one, right? Many tokens to one user. And the join column, a join column is going to be user ID. I normally use flat case, and the reference column is going to be ID. And we are going to then create, okay, I think we can allow the user ID to be managed by Hibernate. So what it means here is Hibernate is going to create one column called the user ID, which will be of same type with the reference column in the user object. So we are going to go to the user class and we are going to add one field here, and that field is going to be the secure token and it's going to be at one-to-many. I think we can say at one-to-many map by is equal to user. So that is the field in secure token, which is this one, right? Okay, map by user, and it's going to be private. We need a list of tokens, Okay, so in the step-by-step, let's look at the next step. We are going to update the user model to include this field. So I'm going to just copy this and then we are going to, because I think I can keep this side by side with the IntelliJ page so that we can actually see what is going on. So in our user object, in our user model, we are going to include a number of fields. We are going to need private account verified. It's going to be a Boolean account, and that is fine. We also need at login disabled. Sorry, not at login disabled. Login disabled. So this is in case of when the account is created, but we want to disable this account temporarily, and we are going to need this maybe a little later. What else? I think these are just the two. We need the account verified, we need the email. Do we have an email? We already have an email here. We need the set of secure tokens. We created it right here, and we need the setup for login disabled. We also have the lombok annotation data gives us the getters and the citers, and we have that this user should extend updatable. Perfect. Okay, so we need to now create the email context, right? Well, we need to create the email context. The email context allows us to send out emails from our application. So I'm going to create the email context. So I'm going to create a mailing package that is going to contain everything related to sending emails. So I'm going to call this package mailing. And inside here, I'm going to create an email context class, email context. And this email context will be an abstract class because we will be using it to create other contexts. There may be email you want to sign for new account registration. There may be for password reset. There may be other emails you maybe want to send the user to for some notification. So there may be many different contexts, but this is the abstract class we want to use to create all the other contexts. And emails have to have some common fields, for instance, from, to, subject, email, and template location. I'm going to explain one or two of these fields that you may not know what it is. So you may be wondering what. So you know all of this. The template location is the template. So template is the HTML design of this email, which defines the body of this email, which will be different for each email. So in this case, we need the template location, the HTML form, or the HTML template for this email. And it's normally placed in some directory in the resources, under the resources directory as well. So there are a number of things we need to add to this context. We need the constructor for this. And of course, we need the constructor. We also need the getters and the citers, getter and citer. Now we will not use the lombok add data annotation because we need specific kind of constructor that will initialize. This is to be at getter, and this is going to be at citer. So email context, I call it email context, but it's better we call it abstract email context just to be more explicit and more descriptive with the name. So what I'm going to do now is to create the constructor. So I'm going to create one custom constructor, abstract email context. Now this constructor is actually not used to instantiate this context. This constructor will be inherited by the subclasses of this context. So you can actually not instantiate this abstract class. So this .context, the context is going to be new hash map, and yeah. So these properties of an email should be specified in certain data structure, and the best data structure to specify this is a hash map that's going to have a key of the name of the property and the value to be the value of that property. So from, to, subject, email, template location, and the context is a container, is the container for everything. We also need a method called init where we will set up a number of things. So I think I said it here, right? Okay, great. So this init method is going to be defined based on the particular context that is going to be inheriting this class. So it's going to be t context. So we are using a generic type or a type variable, which is the t right here. For now, we don't have anything in here, but just to give some idea of what this init method does, I'm going to paste this information right here, and then we need a put method to actually add things to the context. So it's going to be public object put. We are using object because object is a superclass of everything. So we don't know the context for now, the particular context for now. So the object is the put is okay. So it's, the key here is going to be a string key and the object is going to be value. And what we are going to do here is we are going to return, we are going to check if the key is null. So we are going to check if the key is null. The key is null, then we are going to return null. Otherwise, we are going to return this of context dot put, and we are going to put key dot intern and value. So you can see that the intern method returns the canonical representation of the string object. A pool of strings initially empty is maintained privately by the class. When the intern method is invoked, if the pool already contains a string equal to this string object as determined by string.equals method, then the string from the pool is returned. Otherwise, this string object is added to the pool and a reference to this string is returned. String object is returned. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, let's now create the account verification email context. That is the context that will be used for account verification. I'm going to create it right here inside the mailing directory as well. So I'm going to call it account. Later on, we are going to be talking about the reset passwords, and we are going to be creating another context. But in this case, let's complete working with the account verification email context. And as you know, this context is going to extend the abstract class, which is the abstract email context. Okay, so it extends the abstract email context. We need a number of things. We need the token, because we are going to be needing the token for us to send this email. We're also going to send the user a token that has to be used to verify the token. So we are now going to do an override of the init method and be able to initialize the specific properties for the account verification context. So it's going to be void init. Actually could have just inherited it. Why do we have this? Okay, so void init, and it's going to be context. Okay, so we are going to say user is equal to context. So it's going to, we are casting the context to user. Okay, import class, this is fine. And we're also going to add some things to the context. So I'm going to say puts time first name user.get first name, and we are going to set template location. Now the template location, we are going to have it somewhere in mailing. I'm going to place it in email. I'm going to call it email verification. Okay, so this is where the template lives, and we need the subject. Set subjects, and the subject is going to be complete your registration. Complete your registration. We are going to set from to be, now normally you have to do a no reply, and the set to is to now be the user's email. So it's going to be user.get email, and this is fine. Okay, so we have the email context initialized, and now we are going to set the token. So I'm going to say set token, and it's going to be string token. We are going to set the token and also put the token in the context. So it's going to be this token is equal to token, and we also put the token in the context because we are going to be sending it to the user as well. Okay, so the next property we need is the build verification URL. So I'm going to just come down here and say public. What do we mean by the verification URL? You already see that we have a URL right here that is sent to the user. The user can click. Otherwise, the user may have to copy and paste in browser, but it's better you give the user a link so that he can simply click on that link. It makes things much easier. So public void build verification URL, and we are going to give the base URL, which is like localhost port 8080 and all that. Final string, I think this is going to be the token. Okay, so this is the two things that will be used to build the verification URL. So we have the first part, the the whatever this is called a base URL, and we need the token. Okay, so we built the URL as oh no so just navigate and just move away. Okay, so final string URL is equal to URL is equal to URI component builder dot from HTTP URL and it's going from base URL, and we are going to say the path and specify /register/verify. Okay, and now we are going to provide the token as a query param, and the name is going to be token and the value is going to be token. Okay, so we have this. We are going to say the to URI string, and then we are going to put this verification URL into the context. Verification URL, we're going to place it into the context as a URL. So now we need the service for sending email. So we first also need to have the interface for sending email. So let's call this email service. It's going to be an interface. We are going to be having other classes that is going to extend this interface. It's going to be an interface, and I think it's going to define a send mail method. So I'm going to just say public void send mail, and it's going to be final abstract email context, and I think this should throw an exception. Yeah, so something might go wrong, so it should be able to throw messaging exception. Messaging exception, I think I should refresh Maven because this should be available when we added the mail dependency. So we simply import the class from Jakarta.mail, right? So we have our email service, and I'm going to then create one more service. This case will now be default email service, and this default email service is going to be a service. So I'm going to annotate it with a service annotation, and I think it's going to implement the email service, right? It's going to implement the email service, and it will, we are forced to implement the send mail methods. Okay, so we have the send mail methods. We have all these things here. I would like to explain to you as I type. So instead of just to copy and paste, I think I'll just explain to you. So the first thing we want to do is to create a mine message. Not a mine mail message, but a mine message. And so there is like a HTML formatted email rather than a plain text. So it's going to be email sender. So the email sender, we are going to wire it in, right? So we are going to wire in the Java mail sender and also the Spring templates engine. So let me wire in those two. So I'm going to say private final Java mail sender, and the next one is private final. It's going to be Spring templates engine, Spring template engine. Now Spring template engine should be coming from time leaf, right? So we need the Spring Boot starter time leaf. So this one is actually what you can use to manage displaying the authentication details on a template. So this is actually what we will need if we are building a time leaf application. But for now, I think Spring Boot starter time leaf is okay. So I'm going to just copy this and go back to my pom.xml, and I'm simply going to paste it right there. And I'm going to take out this, and we are going to refresh our Maven. And at this point, we should have the dependency. Okay, so you can see that the template engine is right here. So let's add the constructor parameters right here. Perfect. Okay, so let's continue from where we stopped. So we are creating a mine message. Is going to now be email sender. Actually, I call it mail sender.myMessageHelper. Create my message, okay? And then we are going to create a my message helper. It's going to help us for formatting our mail. And it's going to be new my message helper. It's going to take the message, and it's also going to take a number of other things. For instance, let me just make it from here. Actually, I'm going to push down this, and we need the my message helper. The mode is going to be related, so you can actually, it means you can actually add different kind of formats in this in the body of the mail. Character set is going to be standard character set utf8 dot name. Okay, so dot name, and I'm going to just close this. Okay, so now I'm going to say context. Context is equal to new context, but context from time leave. So this is time leave. How we can place in some variables into the. Okay, we now set a variable in the context. So in this case, we are going to set variables email.get context, which is those variables or those details we put into the context. We want them to be available in the email template as well. So we also need to get the contents of this email. So email contents is to now be retrieved from the templates, right? So the process, we are going to, so we are using the same name. Okay, so let's call this one email so that we don't have this mix up. So let's call this, so this is the email context, and this is the Spring context. So this is going to be email.get context, and the template engine is going to use its own context called email context. So yeah, sometimes this mix-up can come in the way. So in this case is the email context, not the Spring context. This is what we call this email right here. We are going to get the template location. We're going to get a template location. I think we need one more. And then we need the context. Okay, so now we need to set the other parameters. For instance, the set to subject from and the text actually. So we are going to use the my message helper to do that, so that the processor can process it as well. So the set to, you know what? I think I'll just copy everything and paste email. So this is email sender. Do we call it email sender? So we call it mail sender. So mail sender. The engine processes the email contents. Yes, okay. Now we have created everything related to the email context. Now we are going to go ahead to create the secure token repository and the secure token service. So we are going to create the secure token repository in the repositories package under security. So I'm going to go to security and go to repositories, and I'm going to create new repository. Is going to be secure token repository, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to extend JPA repository for secure token, and the primary key type should be is of type long, and right here is going to be at repository. So let's continue. We have the repository. So this repository will have two custom methods, and one of them is find by token and the other one is remove by token. So we are going to create the first one, secure token find by token, and find by token is going to take string token. Okay, so we find the secure token, and we also need void remove by token is going to have secure token. Okay, so this is what we have in the first part. Then we also need to create secure token service, and this secure token service will simply contain CRUD for secure token. So I'm going to go to create this service, and it's going to be secure token service. I'm going to annotate it with the service annotation. And of course, we need to wire in the repository because this is where everything will go. Private final secure token repository. We will just add a constructor parameter here. We will go ahead to add these 4 methods. So the first one is going to be get. So let's get all secure tokens. So I'm going to say public returns a list of secure tokens. Will we ever get the list of secure tokens? No, we are going to be only getting one single secure token at a time. So private get token, get token. I'm going to string ID, giving it the token ID, and it's simply going to have a secure and returns repository that finds by ID, and it's going to be ID, and in this case it's going to actually belong ID, and it's going to import this class. Hold on, import class. And why do we have this? Oh yeah, I think I should do get or else, or else null. Maybe this solve the problem. Otherwise you are going to add optional here. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to simply paste the whole content of the secure token service, and that's going to save us a lot of time. So we'll have this secure token service to be, let's make it an interface. So let's make it an interface and simply expose certain methods. Yeah, I think that's much better. So now we have the secure token service. Let's now create the implementation of the secure token service. So I'm going to call this implementation of the secure token service to be default secure token service, and I'm going to add it, and it's going to be our service. Now we are now going to have this implement. We have it to be implementing the secure token service, and we must implement all the methods we specified. We are now going to implement the body of these methods. Now the create token, we are going to spend some time here. I'm going to show you how to create a secure token. A save token, we are going to use the repository like we did before, and just like find by token, remove token. So let's take the easy one first. So I'm going to first wire in the secure token repository here, repository secure token repository. I'm going to add the constructor parameter so that I can have a constructor injection, and here I'm going to simply say secure token repository dot save and give it a secure token, and the find by token will have secure token repository dot find by token, and we give it the token. So I think it's quite clear. And in this case, we are going to do secure token repository dot remove by token, and we give it a token. So it's actually removed by token. So it's not removed by token, removed by token. Okay, so let's go back to where we are. So now, how do we create a new secure token? So this is where we are going to spend a little bit of time. We're going to spend a little bit of time to create a secure token here. So yes, so we need a number of things to create a secure token. First, we will need an encoder, a base 64 encoder. We also need a random number generator. So let's create the random number generator. So I'm going to say private, it's going to be a static variable final, not a random number generator, but a bytes key generator. Let's call it default token generator. And this is going to be key generators dot secure random, and the key size will be 12. So if you check the number of characters in our token, it's going to be 12. But you can also increase this as much as you want. We also need to specify the token validity. So private int token validity in seconds. Now I want to specify this value in the properties file, so I'm going to retrieve the value from properties file, and it's going to be inside a variable called ktg.secure.token.validity, ktg.secure.token.validity, and we are going to import value from bin factory annotation. And now we are going to specify this value in the properties file. So I'm going to my properties file right here, and I will specify the token validity to be 2800. Okay, so let's leave it at 2800. I think this might be 30 minutes. Okay, so where are we? Okay, yeah. So we are defining what we need to use to create a secure token. Okay, now we have to start creating our secure token. I'm going to create a secure token, bring the token value. The token value is going to be new string, and we are going to encode the bytes that are generated. So we are going to generate some bytes and then encode it. So it's going to be, and we're going to use a base64 encoder. So I'm going to get URL encoder, get URL encoder, get URL encoder dot encode to string, and it's going to be then default token generator dot generate key. Dot generate key, right? Dot generate key, right? Secure token. We are creating a secure token. Secure token is equal to new secure token. Okay. Secure token dot set token going to be the token value, and we're going to set the expiry date or expiry time, and this is going to be 1 hour from the time it was created. So 1 hour from now, or the validity from now. So we are going to say local datetime dot now dot plus seconds and token value in seconds, right? Oh, so this is going to be set expired at, not get expired at, right? Okay, so we now save the secure token. So these are save secure token and secure token, and we are going to return this secure. So when a token is created, it is saved in the secure tokens table, and then we are going to return it to the user. Okay, so this is the much we have for creating a secure token. Now we need to go ahead to create the mailing properties, right? When you want to send out an email from Spring Boot, you need certain properties. And how do we set up this? And this is what we are going to be doing next. We don't have an email server, so we are going to retrieve these properties from Gmail. So if you have a Gmail address, we are going to retrieve this from Gmail. Okay, so the properties we need includes, okay, so everything here is very easy to understand. So the thing you are going to change here only if you are using Gmail, the username and the password. Now the password is very important. This is not your email password. Never put your email password here, but it's going to be the app passwords that you create from your email Gmail account. So how do you get an app password? I'm going to go off to Gmail, and we are going to try to retrieve an app password or to create an app password. From here you go to your account, manage Google account, and from manage Google account you go to security, and if you scroll down you might see app passwords. Unfortunately we don't see app passwords, so I'm going to go ahead to say search Google account, and I'm going to type app passwords, and it's right here. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to verify using my Touch ID, and at this point I can now create an app password. So I'm going to call it InventoryMS app, and I'm going to create, and here is my app password for this email. Okay, yeah, so it tells me an app has been created. So I'm going to paste it right here, remove the spaces. Okay, so we completed that part. Oh, we need to add the site-based URL HTTPS. I think it's going to be localhost at port 8080, and it's going to be http //8080 API/v1, and that gives us what we want. 8080 API v1. I'm just trying to make sure that we don't have any errors later on. I want to see that we start this application and it runs exactly as expected. Implement the send registration confirmation email. We will need to write a few custom exceptions. We put them in an exceptions package. Okay, so we are going to write some custom exceptions to be able to provide a descriptive exception message in case something goes wrong. So I'm going to call it exception, it's exception or exceptions, and we need a number of them. We need invalid token exception, so I'm going to create an exception called invalid token exception. It's going to inherit exception, right? Okay, so we have the invalid token exception message, and we can also have another constructor or two more constructors. Paste this one and paste this one. So this one, let's put the first one to be without parameter, and the super is just going to do nothing. And the last one is the super is we are going to have this exception takes a message. It's also going to take a cost, throwable cost. Super will pay two parameters, the message and the cost. So there is invalid token exception, and we are going to create two more exceptions: unknown identifier exception and user already exists exception. So I'm going to copy this and just paste it. So I'm going to paste, and I'm going to call this unknown identifier, and the next one is going to be user already exists. Yeah, so we don't need to do anything any further. So we have our exceptions created. Update the user repository to include find by email. I think I already did that, but let's just check the user repository. Where are you? User repository to include find by email. Okay, so we only have find by username, so we have user find by email, and it's going to be string email. Update the user service to check if the user exists. Rename the function to say, okay, so we need to make some changes in the user service. So I'm going to close all tabs, and I'm going to open the user service. We have to open the user service, which is this one, and we are going to write a function to check if the user exists. So we are going to write a function to check if the user exists. So I'm going to say if user exists. Okay, and it's going to take the email of the user. It's going to return user repository that find by email, I think, and it's going to be the email. Find by email, if it doesn't find anything, if it's null, then return false. It doesn't exist, else return true. You can also do it the other way around, okay? So it's telling us to simplify. Perfect. We also need to rename the save method to register. Do we have any save method here? So user repository dot save, that is fine. Write the signed registration confirmation. I think we should rename this to register. Hope I'm getting it correctly. And it's going to trigger an exception in the controller. So if I go to the user controller, I should have an exception. So this is going to be registered. Now we are going to write the signed registration confirmation email, and it's going to be written in the user service. We are going to write the signed registration confirmation email in the user service. This is going to take the user, and it's going to do a number of things and sign this email across. I'm going to write these functions somewhere down here. So it's going to be a void function, send registration email, and it's going to take the user. We are going to send the registration confirmation email. The first thing we need is the secure token. So we are going to create a new token, secure token. Secure token is equal to secure token service. That also means we need to wire in the secure token service right here. So I'm going to say private final secure token service, secure token service, and I'm going to add the constructor parameter here, and secure token service dot create secure token. This is fine, and we are going to set the user to set user, and we are going to save this token, secure token repository. We don't have secure token repository, so I'm going to go ahead to wire in the secure token repository. So private final secure token repository, secure token repository, add the constructor parameter, and let's see, secure token repository dot save secure token. Okay, so this is the secure token we are going to sign along with the email. So we are going to need to create an account verification email context, and I'm going to call it email context, and it's going to be new account verification email context, and I'm going to initialize it and give it the user, because that is the type at this point. That is the variable that the init method takes, and we are going to also set the token to secure token.get token, and we are going to say email context the build verification URL takes the base URL. I think we need to specify the base URL secure token.get token. We need to bring in the base URL here, because the base URL I think is coming from the properties file, so we are going to grab the value of the base URL from the properties file. We use the base URL in building the verification URL. When we created the secure token from the secure token service, and this is how you should retrieve values from the properties file. In the same way, we want to retrieve the base URL from the properties file, and this is also what we do here. But in this case, it's not token validity, but it's going to be a string, and it's going to be base URL. The actual name from the properties file is site.base.url.https. I'm going to simply copy that and use it right here. If I now go down where I'm trying to build the base, the verification URL, I can now use this base URL here. Never assigned is okay, but it's retrieving value from the properties file. So we are going to send this email. So we're going to close in a try catch block, and it's going to be email service. Again, we need to wire in the email service. Email service. Yeah, email service. We are going to add the constructor parameter, and we are going to say email service the send mail, and send mail takes the context. So I'm going to give it the context, right? So add catch, and it's going to throw not a runtime exception. It's also can be a runtime exception. It's better to just print out the stack trace so that we know actually what is going on. Okay, so this is what we wrote. Right now, we are now going to go to the register method. Should first check if the user exists, save the user, and then call the send registration confirmation email method. Okay, so we should work on the register methods, which is this one. So the register methods, the first thing you want to do is to retrieve the user object, and we are going to check if that user already exists, right? So I'm going to say if, check if user exists. What do you take? Check if user exists takes email. So user.get email. If the user already exists, we are going to throw new user already exists exception. New user already exists exception. And we are going to say user already, and we are going to move on to the next part. If exception is not thrown, we are going to now create the user. We have to encode the password, and then we are going to save the user. After we save the user, we are now going to hold on, we are not returning the user yet. User new user equals, right? And then we will send registration confirmation email to the user, and we are going to return new user. And I'm going to go ahead to save all. Update the user controller, modify the add new methods to call the service register method. I think we already did this. If we go to look at the user controller, so I already changed the name to, you can see right here, user service.register user. Update the user controller, modify add new to call the service register method and send a success message. So what is happening here is we are returning a response entity that says HTTP status created, and the status code is 200. 201 created, 200 success, 201 created. So if it returns this status code and the body contains a new user, we can actually verify before we now navigate in our UI. So the next thing we want to do now is we want to create the templates, the email templates, because we need to have those email templates available. And I think we will come to that in a minute, but for now, let's just proceed. The templates, this is what we are talking about. Create the mailing directory in the templates folder and create the email verification templates. So we are going to go to the resources, and in template, I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to call it mailing. And inside this directory, I'm going to add a new template called email verification templates, or email verification.html. So I'm going to create a HTML file. I'm going to call it email-verification. I'm going to add it right there, and the content of this file is HTML content of this file. I already have created it for you. So if you go here, simply copy everything you have in that link and paste it there. And simply save it, and that's all you need to do for now. Modify the registration template form to include both the username and the email. This we can do in the React application. So I will switch onto React at this point so that we can modify the registration page. So the register page is right here. We want to modify it to include both the email and the username. So I'm going to copy this and paste it twice. I'm going to copy this and paste it twice. And paste it a second time right here. The first one is going to be first name, and the second one is going to be last name and last name, first name, last name. That is correct. So if I save and I take a look at the registration page, I shall see some changes at that point. So we have first name. Okay, so the design of this form is not perfect. You can look at the completed application, take the design I created from there, and then use it. For now, the functionality is perfectly okay, but the design, you can actually improve it by taking the one I already have. So we have the registration modified to include both the username and the password. Modify the password, confirm password, so we can check if the password match. We are going to do that a little later. Add the script for checking. So for now, we are going to do that later on. But what I think we need to do at this point is to update the registration functionality here. So we are going to handle register in this page. So when a user clicks on this button, create account, it should actually trigger the account creation API request to the backend. What I'm going to do is to add a click handler to this button. So it's going to be on click. It's going to be handle account creation. Handle account creation, but we don't have this for now. And we also should be able to update the inputs or input boxes or input fields when a user makes some changes. So the first thing we want to do is to adjust the form input. So let's start from the first name, the last name, the username, the password, and the email. So there are a number of things we need to add. We need to add the unchange on all of them. Right, so we're going to add the unchange on all of them. We also need to add the ID on all of them as well. So let's start from the first one. So this one, let's hit this key and hit this key. So use it to update the inputs for the other ones. So this actually, we don't need it for the repeat password, right? We don't need it here. And later on, we need the repeat password just to make sure that the two passwords match. So the next thing we want to do is we want to implement the handle change, and this is going to allow us to update the text fields when a change occurs in the input field. So handle change equals E. Now we need a state to hold the account data. So I'm going to just copy the state and I'm going to just paste it for you. So this is the account data, first name, last name, username, email, and the password. And when we handle a change, it means that an input entry have changed value. We will update the account data. So I'm going to say set account data, and it's going to be that account data. We are going to update the ID and the value. We are going to update the ID of the particular field that changed. So it's going to be either target that value, and that is what we have here. The spread operator is actually 3. That's one. Now the next thing we want to do is to handle account creation. We are going to write the function to handle account creation. So this handle account creation is going to make an API call to the /register endpoint. So let's go ahead to do that. So I'm going to say const handle account creation. It's going to be an async function, and it's going to have the events. And we are going to make an API call, and we need the base URL. So I'm going to retrieve the base URL from my environment variable, and we have our base URL. We can now make an API call and retrieve await axios.post. Axios.post is going to post, right? It's going to post to the /register endpoint, right? It's going to post to the /register endpoint, and I'm going to specify. So I'm going to use template literals. So I'm going to say base URL /register. So when we have a response coming from the API call, we are now going to check the response if the status is 201 created. If response the status equal to 201, which is 201 created, the user was created, or the response is success. Response the status is equal to success. Success has a status code of 200. If this is the case, then we will navigate to registration successful. We're going to navigate to registration successful, but before then, we will go ahead to create the navigate hook. So I'm going to say const navigate is equal to use navigate, and so using this navigate, we will now navigate to where we want to navigate, and I think that should be to the registration successful. So I'm going to navigate to /registration successful. Okay, so there is a template we should have somewhere in registration successful, should be in register. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it registration successful.js, and this is simply a JS file that contains a simple message: you have successfully registered. So I'm going to just give you the content of this file. There's nothing there except just a message that says you successfully registered. So I just place it right there. I'm also going to give you one file called the verification successful. So I'm going to just paste that file there. So this verification successful, just containing some success message you display for the user for successful registration and successful verification. Let's see where we stopped or where we are. Let's go back to the, okay, we have done this. Modify the registration template from form to include both username and password. Modify blah blah blah. Now I will go back to the React and I will do a prevent default for handle account creation. I'm going to prevent the default form submit, because in this case we are not submitting a form but we are clicking on a button. So here I'm going to just say e.prevent default, and I also want to see the account data displayed on the console just to verify things that everything works fine. So it's going to be account data. Actually, we should be putting all of this into a try catch. Okay, so we have a try catch, and then here we are going to catch. We catch any error that occurs, and we are going to do a console log on this error. So again, I'm giving you an assignment. Please use the snack bar to display a snack bar notification for the user. So I'm going to say console.log, and I want to see the error that occurred. Okay, so this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead to save everything. Okay, so let's go ahead to check where we are. Update the application security config to allow access to the users add new route, add the register verify URL to the application security config file, test the email verification, update this, yes. So let's go to do that, number one. So if we go to security and we go to security config, now we are going to allow or permit the route without authentication, and the route we are going to permit is the register. I think it's already right there. I think it's already there. So /register. We will be using the /API/v1, and the same thing we are going to do in case of login. We need so once you register now, we expect that an email will be sent. That is what we expect. I think we could go ahead to test it right now. I hope this works. Oh, so I opened the registration controller. And the user service is going to be .register. So let's look at this register, and we expect to have the user receiving a confirmation email when he registers. And we also expect a redirect to the registration successful page. So let's go ahead to test everything, and let's see if everything works as expected. I will go to, let's close all this for now. I'm going to restart this application. So npm start, and I'm also going to restart the Spring Boot. I'm going to also save everything, and then I'm going to restart it as well. So save all, and I'm going to hit the restart button as well. Okay, so Tomcat started on port 8080. Let's go to try to register a new user. So I'm going to the application, and we have an exception here. I'm going to the console, and let's see what the problem is. Register line 2141, use state is not defined unless. Okay, so let's go to register. Right here it says use state is not defined. Why not? Use state, so imports. I think it forces React to import use state. Let's go back to our UI and see if anything changes. Okay, we have things working. So let's try to register. So I'm going to start registration, create an account, and it says registration failed, unauthorized. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is coming from Spring Boot. So it says unauthorized. Required request body is missing. Okay, so I think I have an idea. So if you look at our post API call here, you can see that we didn't give the second parameter, which is actually the account data. So I'm going to save everything, and let's go ahead to try one more time to attempt the registration one more time. So I'm going to enter the first, sorry, not you. Later on, I'm going to show you how to enforce strong passwords and all that. So account creates, I think it worked. Just that it seems our redirect did not work. Oh, it created, actually it sent the email. Oh, my mistake. So it actually sends the email, but with a little delay, right? So it sent the email right here. And just check, yeah, it sends. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the process, and let's just make sure it works. And one thing I noticed is that it didn't redirect us to the registration success page. And why it did not is that it tried to redirect us to the registration success page, but that page was blocked because it is a protected page. So we are going to actually exclude that page from the protected route. So I'm going to go to app, and in app, we are going to also exclude the registration successful route from here. I'm going to route. We don't even have registration successful route here. So let's add all those routes. So I'm going to go to paths. Path is going to be slash and exact. I don't think exact is okay. We don't need it now. So it's going to be registration. The element is going to be registration success. Oh yeah, the second one. Okay, perfect. So we have registration successful. I'm also just going to add verification successful so that we don't forget later on. So in this, I'm going to add this to the route. So it's going to be registration successful is going to be verification, and this is going to be verification. And let's just check our verification to make sure we exported the right one. And yeah, we have to use verification here. Now we have the route set up, and we are now going to exclude those routes from the protected routes. So I'm going to my app.js and I'm going to exclude those two routes. So to exclude them, just add it here. So it's going to be routes exact. If you want to use exact, that's fine. Paths. And the next one is going to be verification successful. So it's going to be verification successful. And here we're going to have verification, and the same goes here. So it's going to be verification successful. All right, let's go ahead to repeat the process once again, and let's see if we got successful registration email, and also it redirects us to the registration successful page. So I'm going back to the UI and let's try to see what we have here. Register and repeat the same process. Create account. Okay, so our registration successful page works, and the registration also worked perfectly well. Now the problem is when we go to the email that we received, we have a link that says verify. But right now we have not implemented verification, so we cannot actually click on that link and get it working. So let's just try randomly click on the link and it takes us to nowhere. So let's go ahead to implement the verification success at this point. Go to login. We cannot log in because... Okay, so let's go fix up things. So first, let's go to make the authentication process to use the account verified. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to where we have authenticate, where we have to authenticate the user, and we also at that point we are going to check if the account is verified. So I'm going to go to Alt Controller. In Alt Controller we have, no, it's not in Controller, it's in Services, and it's Authentication Service, right? So authentication service, before we can say a user is authenticated, the account must be verified. So otherwise the user is not going to be authenticated. So I'm going to say if user dot is account verified, actually if not user dot is account verified, we are going to throw new and say bad credentials exception, and we are saying the account is not verified. So the account is there, but it is not verified. Okay, so account verified, username is already exists or not found, or password is not correct. Either of these options will not verify the account. And we are going to go to the user principal, and we are going to update the is enabled, right? So this is enabled. Is always true, but it will only be enabled when the account is verified. So what we are going to return here will be user.isAccount verified, user.isAccount verified right here. So at this point, we should not be able to log into the application because the account is not yet verified. Also, we will not be able to verify this account at this point because we've not implemented the account verification. I'm going to delete this email and I'm going to try to log into the account. I think we did implement logout. Let's take out this. using the same username and password, and I think we should not be able to log in at this point. It tells us registration failed. Now let's implement the user account verification, and this means that in the email that we send the user, there is a link there. When the user clicks on that link, it should take us to the endpoint, register, verify, and this is actually where we will implement the logic to verify the user account. So we will go to the user service and we are going to implement the verify at that point. Okay, so we will implement the verify in the user service. So I'm going to say public boolean verify user. When this verify user receives the request, it will receive the token, not the user, because the user is sending the token with the request. So it's going to receive the token as a string, which is the secure token, which is part of the URL parameter, and it's going to first retrieve the secure token. So I'm going to say secure token. Secure token is equal to secure token service dot find by token, and it's going to be token. Oh no, what's happening here? I'm writing something outside. Okay, perfect. So we are going to check if this token is null. If there's nothing in that token, then if there's nothing in that token, then we are going to throw an exception. So I'm going to say if objects dot is null, and it's going to be the secure token, yes, or if not, the token is equal to the user's token. So if we have a utility function I'm going to use to check for two strings being equal. So it's going to be string utils dot equals, and it's going to be take secure token and secure token dot get token, and finally we will say secure token dot is expired. Do we have these expired methods for the secure token? Let me check. For the secure token, do we have is expired methods? Oh no, okay. So we have to write the method is expired. So it's going to be boolean. I think this method is going to be a getter. So it's going to be public boolean is expired. Public boolean is expired, right? And it's going to return get expired at the expired date that if is ever before now, then is expired. So if it's before now, local datetime.now, if it's ever before now, yes, then it's expired. So we have the function here. So if the secure token dot is expired, if any of these holds true, then we are going to throw an exception. So we are going to throw new invalid token exception. Token has expired. So let's go ahead to check if the user is null. So user, let's retrieve the user from the token. So user is equal to user repository dot gets get one is okay. So get one secure token dot get user. Remember we had the user field in the secure token dot get ID. I think we could also have done find by ID. So we are going to say if objects dot is null and it's going to be user, we are going to return false. If everything goes well, we are going to just say user dot set account verified to be true. We just verify the account and just say user repository dot save user. And once we have verified the user, we will remove the secure token service dot remove. Is it removed by token or remove token? And we provide the secure token to remove, and then we are going to say the account is verified, return true. Okay, so we have our verify working. We will now go to the controller method for verify, and we are going to the controller method for verify because we now have the verify function in the user service. We are going to now the user controller, and we are going to write the verify methods. We already wrote the verify methods in the what do we, in the user service, we now have to create the registration controller. We already have the registration controller, right? So we are now going to write in the registration controller, we are going to write the methods in the registration controller. This method in the registration controller is going to now be the verify, right? So I'm going to write a function at get mapping to /register/verify. It's going to be public void verify user, and to verify the user we need the token, and we also need a response. We also have to take in the response coming, because the response is what we are going to use to do a redirect. So we are going to have the request param. So the token is coming as a request param, not a request body, and the required is equal to false. Of course, you can also have an empty token coming in, and in that case, it will be invalid. So it could be there, it could not be there. So, string token, and we have HTTP servlets. So this is verified. So we are also going to check for an empty token. We're also going to check for, let me see, I think okay. I'm going to simply write the empty token check. So if string utils dot is empty and the token does not exist, we are going to throw an exception. So response, instead of throwing an exception, I'm going to send an exception to the user. So it's HTTP. Of course, you can do this any way you like. Servlet response that let's use a bad request, maybe bad request, and then the message is going to be registration. It's actually token is not valid. Okay, is it quote? Why did I hit quote here? So it's string util dot is empty, right? So it's not quote but it's empty, and we are simply going to terminate. Because this return seems not to be useful, so I can actually remove it. So I'm going to now try to verify the user by saying user service dot verify user, and it takes the token and response dot it's not return response dot send redirect, and we are going to go to the localhost verification successful. Actually, we are going to later move this into our properties file, but it's going to be localhost about 3001. Is it 3000? 3001? 3000, and it's going to be verification success. Okay, and then we are going to catch an exception, which is invalid token exception E, and that is going to be response dot send error. So in this case, it's also going to be HTTP servlet response dot bad request, and in this case we have the error message as the get message method of the exception. Okay, so this is a verify, right? This is a verify. So if it verifies, great, then we have the user verified, and then it's going to return to this verification successful. Otherwise, there will be a servlet error response sent. So let's check our security config to check if the register verify is allowed or is permitted without authentication, because we need to permit this without authentication. So I'm going to the security config, which is this file. Yeah, so it's not there. It's not there, so I'm going to just copy this and paste. Let's just rename this to register/verify, and it's going to be register/ver. Actually, one of this is redundant. I can't figure out which. I think this is what works. Okay, so let's try again to see what we have. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go to the database and delete that entry, because I want to reuse the email again. Because so let's go to secure token. We need to remove the secure token first before we be able to delete that user. So let's remove the secure token. apply, secure token gone. So I can now go to remove the user safely. Remember which one. Yeah, is this one. Okay, so let's remove the user and save. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, let's go ahead to try the procedure once again. So let's go here and just refresh to make sure things are working. So I'm going to create a new user by filling the details. Okay, so our registration worked. Let's now try to log in with that user. So this is the user, and let's see. Login, and login failed, right? Login failed because the user is not registered. The user account is registered but not verified. Let's now go to the email that was received and let's try to verify this user. So this is the email that was received just now. I'm going to click on validate account. It doesn't work. I think we should restart this application. Sorry, I forgot. So let's go ahead to restart this application. And by the way, we can actually check the database to see that the user was created. The user was created and also the secure token was also created. So let's go to do the verification again. So I'm going to click on the verify and it didn't work. And there's a problem somewhere in the Spring Boot. Let's see. Okay, so this problem is coming from here. When we add the data annotation, it's also adding the to string methods and equal and hash code as well. So if you go to add data, it says generate equal and hash code implementation without call to superclass. I think it also generates a to string method as well. String, as you can see right here. So one thing we can do is to just expand the data and just take only the annotations we want, but we can also go ahead to override the toString methods so that we use our own toString methods so that we can serialize only the fields that we need. And that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to override toString methods. So I'm going to override public toString, public string toString, and we are going to just return put the username, the password, and the username, the first name, and the last name together. So I'm going to just copy it and paste. 1 second. Okay, so there is a toString method. I think at this point it should work perfectly well. So I'm going to restart the application. And let's go back to the email. We are going to click on that link and let's see what happens. Just make sure the application starts on port 8080, I think. Okay, Tomcat started on port 8080. Let's go to click on the link in the email and let's see. Click. Also doesn't work. Okay, so after some troubleshooting, I figured out that the problem is actually coming from this line, because when you look at the database, you see that the user repository actually saved the updated user with the account verified field set to true. And you can see in MySQL, if we look at the user table, so let's see the user table, we have these records and the user, the verified field, let's look for it, was actually set to true. So you can see account verified field right here, it was set to true. So what it means is that this line actually worked. So what we have problem with is actually this one, remove token. So if we take a look at that line, you can see that we have remove token here. This is the interface. The implementation is right here, and we have the secure token repository.remove by token. And I think this is where we had a challenge, because we are removing by token, but we actually want to delete the token from the database. And so we are going to delete. Actually, remove by token should have also worked, but I don't know why. So delete should be fine. So what I'm going to do, let's try to click on the link one more time, but I'm going to restart this application and let's see what we have. So let's go back to the email and let's click on the link. Let me see. Okay, so let's go back to the email, and this is the email, and let's click on the link, validate account, and you can see that it goes to the login page because the token is no longer valid. So let's create another token and then we can use it. So let me delete this record first. So I'm going to, I think secure token was removed. Yeah, okay, so token is not valid. So let's delete the user account and register a new user. So I'm going to remove the user and update the database, and let's go to check one more time. So let's create a new user. I'm going to click on register and I'm going to fill up the details, and I'm using the same user. First, I would like to delete all these emails so that we just know we are getting completely new email. It's going to be the same passwords. Okay, so I'm creating a new account, and hopefully this time it will work. So this account, we can try to use it just to make sure that it's not working. So you can see it doesn't work because the account is not verified. Let's now check our email and let's click on verify account, and we still have a problem. So let's check. Oh no, I think everything should be fine. So when we click on this, it takes us to login, because I think we need to go to we have register, verify. Okay, that is fine. So this is fine, but in our React application, we need to check that we allow the verification successful. Okay, so let's check the registration. Okay, so we have the registration here. Yeah, so I think we have to look at the Spring Boot application, and when the account is verified, it should take us to registration successful. So let's go to the Spring Boot where we have the registration controller. Let's see. So this is registration controller. It should take us to this link, right? So okay, so you can see that we have this hash. Okay, so we have this hash key here. So I think we have to also specify that as well. So if we go to verification successful. Oh, okay, so we need the hash key. Okay, so let's go to include that. So I'm going to just copy this URL as it is and use it in Spring Boot. So let's just use this right here, and I think this should solve the problem. So I'm going to save all. Just repeat the process so that we can exactly see that it works well. So let me start the application one more time. And we are going to go to delete this email. I'm deleting this email. And I'm going to MySQL, and I'm going to also delete the token. I think the token is deleted as well, but I'm going to also delete the user because I don't want to keep recreating users. Actually, we can just use a different user, right? Okay, let me try to use a different user this time. So let's go back to login and let's create a new user. This time I'm going to use a different email. And the username, let's use a different email this time. So I'm going to just copy this and paste, create account, and let's see what we have. Okay, so now we should receive an email. Okay, the email comes and I'm going to click on it. We are going to now verify our account. Let's give a second. Validate account, and you have successfully verified your account. Go to login, and we can now use that email to log into the system and log in. Okay, so this completes our tutorial on user account verification using email. I would like to stop here for now. Please take some time to go through this. I know it's been tasking, it's been a lot to take in throughout this. So for 1 hour we've been doing this, but I recommend you follow the procedure. Also reach out to me if you have any challenges following these lessons, and I'm going to be there to help you. We continue with InventoryMS. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Click on that subscribe button below so that you don't miss any update from me. And also like this video if it has been informative for you. So we continue in the next part. See you then.